On average, you'll have to wait 31 days to see an OBGYN. And if you're dealing with an infection or outbreak, you know you need care fast. That's where Wisp comes in. Connect with a U.S. licensed provider online and pick up safe, effective treatment at your local pharmacy that same day. Plus, get birth control and more delivered in all 50 states. Take control with comprehensive sexual and reproductive care, all from your phone. Wisp. That's hellowisp.com. The waiting room can wait.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for All Stars 10, Episode 7, titled Wicked Good. My name's Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one Grande. Taylor doesn't know I'm gonna... I just did it for Taylor's face. I already planned to bleep that out.
Okay.
I was waiting for your face to like, and you finally like it right. Actually, when it was so good, I can't wait for that to be on video. Anyway, for the podcast pod and my co-pilot, please say,
I'm so homosexual.
to Mr. Taylor the Latte Boy. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, Joe. You know, I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, and yours is to torture me.
Yeah, you're right. Because I was like, I wanted to do something with Grande, and I wanted something Italian, and so I was like, oh, this would be the perfect thing to say. And then I was like, oh, I can't wait to see Taylor's face when I say this word. And then it was like, it took a while. You were just like,
It did. I was sitting here smiling like, oh, that's cute. He said my name in Grande. Wait a minute.
Anyway, Taylor, how the hell are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. By the way, I don't know why I asked him that, because we just did a over 20-minute episode of Just Between Us Girls.
Where we talked about nothing in recent history.
No, we didn't. And, you know, honestly, I don't want to even say this here. I'm going to say this in one sentence. And everybody will get what I'm saying. That's the way I like it.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, so yes, there's nothing peculiar, nothing. Wait, comedy tonight. Nothing. I should make a parody and put it before this about how we're not going to talk about anything depressing.
No. Well, depends on what you think about this episode.
A good point, actually. But over at Patreon app or the web, patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia, Taylor and I had a very fun, I would say it was a fun episode of Just Between Us Girls.
Light.
Yeah.
Light. It woke me up a little bit. We're taping this a little bit later than we normally do, and I kind of went into this sleepy, but now I was hit with all sorts of 80s music, and it woke me up, and now I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and so you can hear that over at on the Patreon app, patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia at the executive tier level and above, or on the web, patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia, or you can scroll on your Apple Podcast app, subscribe for, I think it's like $6.67 a month. I think it's something like that. And you get this show uncut, like me, and commercial free. And
like
you
me?
also, no, Taylor had a couple of, sometimes I'm talking to Taylor and I'll be like, we'll talk. And then he's holding up like a bottle of Sprite. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like product placement. It's very strange.
He'll finish the story and I'll go, that's great, Joe. Now I want to talk with you about Squarespace.
Yeah, exactly. It's really strange. I'm like, we're not even a recording, Taylor. And he goes, I know. And he writes in a little journal that he mentioned it. Mm-hmm. And, and you get Just Between Us Girls, and that's over at Apple Podcasts. You guys know how this works. You guys know exactly how this works.
You're not new.
Yeah, you guys aren't new. By the way, our Patreon, people are realizing how valuable the free Patreon app is, the subscription, because with that is growing and growing and growing. People know they can get hundreds of hours of content for free. They can watch recap recorded live, except for this one, for free. They can, only premium subscribers and above get to watch the drop. So that's still going to happen. They're still going to get the drop over. It's going to be very funny when in the middle of the episode, we both change outfits and lighting. But Taylor and I are recording. Well, I think about half the episode now, and then half the episode later. So it's going to be funny.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
The audio people won't know. But
See, that was like a Wizard of Oz reference.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, Taylor's really good at weaving. This Nathan would never do this.
You just have to throw a couple of 80s songs at me before we start, and all pistons are shooting off all at once.
Yeah. By the way, did you listen to last week's episode?
No.
Well, good, because I was like, did I appropriately say that it was my fault that we had to have Lori on the show, essentially?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I did say, but I think in the recap, it sounds like you have to hear it. It is my fault.
So magically, I get blamed for something that wasn't actually my fault when I'm not there to defend myself.
You'll hear it's one. I think in recap, it's very accurately explained over Alaska Thoughts, but I think in recap, I'm explaining it, and Lori distracts me. I could be remembering this wrong, and I think I said like, "Oh, this happened," and then like, I don't know. We'll see. Who cares? This week, the final round of 6 girls prance onto the main stage for this week's Maxi Challenge. The girls walk the runway in pairs in their best good witch, bad witch looks. In the end, Daya Betty and Ginger Minj were named the top 2 all-stars of the week, forcing to face off in a lip-sync battle for a point. After gravity was defied, Ginger Minj was named the winner of the challenge. Taylor the Latte Boy were the right 2 queens in the top, and did the right queen win the lip-sync?
No, and I'm not sure. I was surprised. I was slightly surprised that it was Ginger and Daya. Not that they didn't do a good job, but I think that the deserving queens who should have gone up, I think, were Acid and Denali. I liked their look better. I liked their looks better. I liked their performance better. I liked their story better. So I don't get the whole I can see you used a safety pin and then them making up things about padding after. It felt like they were trying too hard to justify Daya and Ginger winning the challenge. As far as the winner of the lip sync goes, I'm torn on that because I think we saw something earlier in the season where it was a performance. I can't remember who it was, but one was giving more body performance and the other was giving more face performance. And in this regard, Ginger was definitely giving more face versus Daya was definitely being more theatrical with her body. And I kind of think that this is a song that I wish there was a way that Ginger could have upped the body and Daya could have upped the face a little bit, because I feel like there needed to be more there needed to be a clearer winner in this regard, I guess. Like I was going to initially say, no, I think Daya should have won, but in thinking about it, like she wasn't really giving as much of the dramatic face as Ginger was. But I also don't think Ginger necessarily did a great job. It was a subpar for that song, what that song means to us as a community. It was a subpar lip sync for me. What about you? What do you think?
I agree with you on some of your major points. I actually almost thought when I saw Acid and Denali come out, I'm like, oh, well, they have this in the bag. Mm-hmm. You know, the story was better than Ginger and Daya's story. Mm-hmm. And now I've seen dialogue online on Reddit, people speculating, why did Daya Betty and Ginger win? I mean, we're going to talk about that after the break, but I think what a close argument that might explain it a little bit is someone said that you know, Acid and Denali went and so did Cynthia and Alyssa, the red, fire, ice, snow, like very clear, distinct, different colors, you know? Whereas actually, and this is weird and nice and kind of different, they both had the same color palette. Mm-hmm. And it was the same color palette, but one was evil and one was nice, but that's where the story got a little muddled where they try to explain it. Whereas I thought Acid Betty's and Denali's, I thought they looked great. I didn't see the padding and blah 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 blah, but I thought the story was very good. I thought it was a very good backstory, and I thought it worked. I have thoughts that are deeper about why this didn't happen, and part of that will be after the break. Part of that will be later in the episode, but essentially, I think that there are reasons why they didn't win, that they could have won, and they were trying to go twist themselves in knots to justify why they already knew they wanted Daya Betty and Ginger Minj.
It feels engineered that Ginger and Daya, but
because we all knew that Alyssa and Cynthia had no fucking chance, and now it's like I don't even know what I was watching.
No.
But it felt like my nieces when they were like 17, they're gonna put on a show for me.
Yeah.
But and then in terms of the lip sync, I was thinking about this as you were talking, and what's so funny is that the way they do the levitation in the actual Broadway show is that Elphaba is essentially on a cherry picker.
Right.
That rises up. It's not like any kind of wiring or anything. It's just like a cherry picker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they didn't bring in like little cherry pickers, even as like a visual joke. Because it wouldn't have been hard, and it would have made the song, that lip sync, iconic.
Yeah, and I think that was a hindrance for both of the queens performing. That you kind of when that "So If You Dare to Find Me," you just almost automatically
Taylor smoked pot before the show started.
No, I haven't started that yet. Started like imagining them going up, like ascending sort of thing. So the fact that they were both just kind of still standing there was a little like, oh. I can imagine probably on some level it might have been a safety issue. It might have been now we have to wheel in these cherry pickers and we have to get them on, and it stops the flow of the lip sync, and maybe that's it. I don't know.
I just don't think that original. Like I don't even think they thought about it. I think they're just like whatever. But what I was gonna say is, so to me, when it first started, I was like, oh shit, because when the song first starts, I was like, oh, Daya Betty's winning this.
Yeah.
In the first round.
That when soon as she crouched, you were like, okay, that's it.
I was like, Ginger's not. It's almost like the tortoise and the hare to me, because I feel like Daya came out the gate really strong.
Well, she comes out basically dressed like a witch with the black eyes and everything. And Ginger looks like somebody that was on Designing Women.
Yeah, like someone like the mother of the bride. Yeah,
right. It didn't make any sense from that standpoint.
And also, Ginger has one acting face, and so like I've seen this. Everything we saw Ginger do in this song, you can see the same acting choices when at the tribute to was it an AIDS thing, or was it a tribute to Jerry Herman when she and the like Alaska and all them sang "I Am What I Am"?
Yeah,
she's making the same faces and acting choices in that song that she's doing in Defying Gravity, and I think it's a tortoise and the hare situation where she just stuck to her guns and just did these weird acting choices. That it's just a very dynamic song, and she wasn't being very dynamic.
Yes.
Whereas Daya Betty was, but then Daya Betty sort of lost the messaging at some point. Just started like running around like a crazy person. Which again, the part is because the song is dynamic. The song is written for this effect. In fact, I just saw this thing today. It's so funny. I just saw this thing today about how that part you just said. And if you care to find me, look to the western sky. It was supposed to originally be sung in the way the other verses are. Was it that line? There's some line that Idina Menzel changed it because she's like, no. This has to be an octave higher. I think it is that line. Okay. I think it's supposed to be sung the way the other lines are sung. And Idina Menzel changed it. And so because the song requires a momentum.
It's building to that crescendo of where she's she's defying gravity. Yeah.
Anyway, so I think in the end, Ginger does win it by a hair. Not to use the tortoise and the hair thing, but like, but that's just because Daya Betty lost steam.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. On that note, why don't we take a break? And when we do, we're going to find out what Taylor's big takeaway was from this episode.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Imagine this. The best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
And we are back. And speaking of good witch, bad witch, I forgot to talk about how Taylor was really rude to me on the phone today when we were setting the time. Like I was like, okay, well, do you want to do like 7:30? He's like, what time do you want to do it? Okay, whatever time.
Let's talk about the 10 minutes before that when I kept saying to you, whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. And you kept changing your mind and trying to figure out when you were going to have dinner tonight and if it was going to work tonight or if it wasn't going to work tomorrow, or if we were going to tape the whole thing tomorrow, or if we were going to tape the thing tonight and you weren't really sure. And then you're like, well, why don't we do this? And we could, that's why I eventually went, what do you want to do? Whatever you want to do. I've already said I'm up for anything. I am trying to be as flexible as possible because I'm constantly being referred to as the diva of Afterthought Media. This is me being nice.
So what was your big takeaway from this? I had to do the laugh. Even the laugh was kind of forced because I was like, the way I was saying, people might actually take it very seriously. They might go like, oh, mommy and daddy are fighting right now.
Mommy and daddy are fighting. No, mommy and daddy don't fight on the show. Mommy and daddy fight off the air.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right, so
okay, what was your big takeaway? Yeah.
My takeaway is it makes a huge difference to me when you have judges or a judge who is clearly a super fan of the show. It makes the show so much more enjoyable than someone who is clearly there just trying to promote an album or a film or a TV show.
Shania Twain. Who didn't even know where she was.
Right. Very confused. Ariana Grande has been on like 3 or 4 times, I think, at this point as a judge. And Cynthia Erivo, I know, has been on at least once, maybe twice as a judge in the past. And it is clear that they love this show. Or they are really good at pretending they love this show. But I ate it up. I think that there is something to be said. When you have, at one of the final shots of the show, Cynthia lip syncing along to ASMR Lover, a song that no one knows, that tells me that she's either really well researched or really loves the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when they talked to the girls, I haven't watched Untucked yet. I'm assuming they go backstage and talk to the girls a little bit. But just when they came in and they talked to the girls and when they were talking to them on the panel, it was just enjoyable to watch. It was just, they just both seemed so happy and excited to watch them perform and to present. And I just love that compared to like when we've had other people that just look dead behind the eyes watching the show. That's my takeaway from it. What about you?
My big takeaway is, and this has come up in the past, is the show just has to let go, because once again, when they try and manipulate things to work in their favor, we start to see the strings, and we start to see how the sausage is made, because unless there's something we didn't see, they're trying to make it seem like there is. It seemed like it was super in the bag for Ginger Minj, probably specifically Ginger Minj, and Daya Betty. And people online have talked about when you look at the rest of the challenges for this bracket, it's geared towards Ginger Minj. So if you have an acting challenge next week, I don't know what the third one is. If you have an acting challenge, that's geared towards Ginger Minj. I don't know what the last one is, but the first one, she wins the one that should be her weakest one because she's Daya Betty. And so like they're trying to push Ginger Minj through to the semifinals, but
haven't they kind of done that with each? I said this in one of the early episodes. You can almost kind of tell who the top three are going to be at the beginning of each bracket. Like, the ones that are there that are, I mean, for lack of a better word, filler queens.
Who do you think the top three is this one already?
I think that we were talking about this earlier. I think that it is Ginger is definitely going to be one. They're not going to have somebody who's been on All Stars 3 times get knocked out in the first in the first bracket. I think that they are giving a really good presentation to Denali. I think it's going to be Ginger, Denali, and then the third one we're not sure on. We think it would either be between one of the two Bettys, because they also seem to. Oh, I got balloons. They seem to be either. They're giving both of them very good camera time right now, like where they both seem very. Acid Betty in particular seemed super comfortable with Rue, and like basically telling Rue it should have been me. She says "fuck you" to Rue at one point, and that sort of thing. I think it's going to be one of the two of them, and I kind of think that it's going to. We were talking here at home, and we almost think it's going to be Acid because they want to see an Acid versus Mistress in the semifinals. So I wouldn't be surprised. I can't imagine a world where Alyssa Hunter goes.
No, Alyssa Hunter and Cynthia, boom, they're off the table.
Right.
I agree. I think it's going to be Ginger, Acid Betty. I'm actually going to go towards Daya Betty because she can be a kind of cunt too. And so it might be fun to see her mix it up with people in the semifinals.
Yeah.
So if the two Bettys and Ginger, this is my guess.
Okay.
Just like, I mean, Denali gives. I talked about this on Alaska Thoughts, but it's like, and I was really looking at it today because I think Denali on paper, I don't like her clothing choices, but on paper is very attractive. And I feel nothing. I feel nothing for her. I'm just on paper.
The close-up of Denali's ass was impressive. Like that was very much a like, oh, hi.
Yeah.
And I'm not normally about, twunk ass, but that was definitely one that it caught my attention. Like she's looking jacked.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. That's the whole sentence. Yeah. So my big takeaway is, girls, if you're going to push them to just be more subtle about it. I'm thinking I'm thinking they have to, because clearly Ginger will do well at least next week. Maybe the third challenge, I don't know what it is one that maybe they don't think Ginger can or will win. So like we have to front load her with points to push her through. I don't know, because their dresses were great, but I don't see a world where they were. Look, we'll talk. I have another thing that happened that I think also sealed the fate of a certain person. But yeah, I just don't see it. So that's my big takeaway. Any other big takeaways?
I almost
go ahead.
thought, speaking of that, as far as the front loading, for a split second when we were talking with the lip sync before, I thought she's going to tie this, and then they're both going to start out with 2.5 points, kind of like what they did with Mistress and George's. And then I was like, wait, no, they can't start them that far ahead of everybody else. Then there's no, if people don't win next week or don't get points, then there's no way some of these girls are catching up. So I think that's the only reason that they didn't split it in half this time.
In a top 2, I mean, it's Ginger's clearly going to do well. Then you have, I don't know how Daya does or Acid or Denali do in those things. I'm already counting Alyssa and Cuckoo out. They're just done. They're not going to win anything.
Yeah.
So how do you think the MVQ points are going to be divided next week? I think they're so boring. They're going to be just...
This seems to be the nice group, or the group that's trying to all be nice right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking that the 2 teams will just trade points. I'll give you my point, you give me. I can't imagine a world where somebody leaves next week without a point.
Yeah, because there was remember, early on in last bracket, they were building alliances before they even knew what the MVQ points were.
And nobody was really doing that this episode.
They didn't. They outright denied it. Someone said, should we do alliances? They're like, no. Right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. All right, on that note, Taylor, why don't we... Oh, I'm sorry. I always fuck it up. I keep wanting to say bring back my girls. No. While you guys untuck in the Taylor the Latte Boy lounge, we are going... In the Taylor Latte Boy jacuzzi... we are going to talk. I don't know. We're gonna. You know what's happening here. We'll
be back later.
By the way, you can hear this whole thing if you just sign up at Patreon.
Just sign up. It's free.
Just do it. Thank you.
It's free.
It's free.
You know what it cost you? 10 seconds of your time.
Yeah.
And are we not worth 10 seconds of your time, listener?
And in these times, don't you want some sort of something fun? I think you do.
Yeah. We're joyous.
We're joyous. All right. For the final time this season, 6 queens return to the main stage and learn the rules of the game. Let's go through this one by one. Just a little brief topics on each of these. But the first one was Denali. Any big thoughts on Denali, Taylor?
I mean, I like Denali in her season. I am glad to see her back. It makes sense for her to come back as an all-star. So, and I think that, I mean, there's 1 or 2 coming up that I'm sort of like, huh? But with her, okay, I could see that.
Well, I think Denali and Acid Betty, in different degrees, are good examples of, I think, all-star it's not all-stars anymore. Because, Ginger Minj is an all-star, truly, right? Yes. But people are sick of seeing her, right? Because there's only so many actual all-stars to go around. Mm-hmm. So now I think it's become more of okay, who possibly went home too soon or we need another look at or something? And Denali definitely fits that category, as does our next person, Acid Betty from season 8. What did you think about Acid Betty coming in?
Acid Betty, I'm surprised we haven't seen Acid Betty prior to now. Mm-hmm. I also feel like I'm hoping to be... I mean, I always liked Acid Betty's looks when she was on in season 8. I always thought that she did a great job. I kind of am not seeing much of a transformation from where she was. Yeah. But her stuff was always awesome then. So I'm just... I feel like if you're going to be on All Stars, for me, I want to see more of a polish the next time you come on. And I'm not necessarily seeing the polish, which I get is also sort of ironic because Acid Betty is sort of a grungy kind of queen, but I want to see a more polished grunge, and I'm not seeing that yet.
All right, very good. Next, we have Alyssa Hunter,
who I could not remember for the life of me was going to be on this season. Every time I would talk about who the next bracket was when I would be talking with friends, I would always say, and somebody else that I can't remember. Mm-hmm. I mean, she talks about how she was doing really great. And then, if it wasn't for that money gun. And I was like, okay, you couldn't have been doing that great if you were the second one to leave.
It's your scene drag delusion realized in that she thinks, you can tell in her head, she just stopped short of saying that the only reason she went home was because her money gun didn't work. And it's like, oh, baby girl.
Right.
No.
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 Yeah. Which I forgot it was Carrie Colby that was the one that she lip sync against.
Oh, is that who it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was when Carrie Colby had the J-Lo dress on.
Oh, you're right. And then the other thing, too, is she says, also known as the trade of the season. I'm like, in your original season.
Right.
Let's not forget. For some reason, 3 or 4 years later, and she's not old, she decided she needed enough filler to, like, make the... what's the name of that show movie with Demi Moore?
The Substance?
The Substance Part 2.
Yeah. She looks like a salamander.
She looks horrible.
Yeah.
And it's like someone's so attractive and Latino, so they age well.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Cynthia Lee Fontaine is next in the room.
Oh, Cynthia. Talk about... She looks like... There's a couple of shots of her in interviews where she looks like she just came from the plastic surgeon. Mm-hmm, because where it looks like she still has like a scar on her lip from where they injected the filler. Mm-hmm. Which then she could have been giving us the secret of life, and all I'm doing is I'm focusing right on those lips. But I mean, she doesn't seem quite so where I'm going to try to jam cuckoo into every sentence like she did on her original 2 seasons, but she's okay. I mean, I kind of see why she would be on, but I mean, if she wasn't, I wouldn't have been sad about it.
I do love that they're shoving, like, people call her cuckoo. Like, even in the workroom, they're like, cuckoo, come over here. And she's like, yes. And and then the Botox too, like her face, that's what's weird is Cynthia Lee Fontaine as a very typical, stereotypical Latino is very expressive in her words and, the way she sounds, but her face does not fucking move with it. Like she's being wacky, like, oh my God, but the face is just frozen.
Yeah.
From all the Botox.
Yeah.
Next, we have Daya Betty.
Daya Betty, I was a fan of, if I remember correctly, I was a fan of Daya Betty on her season with a lot of her looks and stuff. So, again, Daya Betty coming back on makes sense. I know that she's been pretty heavily involved with Work the World, and I think she did some of the Drag Race Live stuff. So it makes sense that she's back this season. She's another one I forgot went home first. And then they brought her back. And that wasn't the season that never died, was it?
It might be, actually. It might be the season that never died.
Well, that was one of them, because that was the one where they did the top 5, where five went to the end. Mm-hmm. And then the one after that was, because that was 13? Was that 13?
13, yes.
13, okay. And then 14, was that It's Chocolate? Or was that 15?
Girl, you're lucky I even knew 13.
So it's in that section of them where you're just like, this season is never going to be over. And so, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm glad she's back. She was always somebody that had a very different drag style that I will be curious to see how she's kind of the example of Acid Betty with the grungy, because I remember she kind of had a grungy rocker look that she's definitely, even just within this, feels like she's elevated a little bit with a little bit more polish. So she's kind of what I was expecting to see from Acid Betty and just haven't seen it yet.
She's a person I talked about in Rulaska Thoughts who, even though she went to the top 5, she's in the finale. The season was so weak that it's a weird sort of bizarre redemption you want to see. Like, okay, let's see how you do in a season full of, well, I don't think we're seeing it in this bracket, but if she makes it to the next round of like strong queens, I'm very curious to see how she performs. Mm-hmm. And then finally, we have Ginger Minj. Your thoughts here?
I know that there are people that are very not a big fan of Ginger Minj. I've always kind of liked Ginger to a degree. She is that old school Southern drag that I can appreciate, and I think she's going to do well. I think that the cards are, kind of in her favor to do well from a storyline standpoint. The fact that she is back for the fourth time is a little eye-rolling inducing, but it's, what? They wanted her back. They asked her back and she came back.
Look, I have to stick to my guns here, which I know people complain about and stuff like that, but she is compelling television, even though this one she particularly wasn't. And I feel if you're good TV, come back multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
In baseball all-stars, it's welcomed. I don't know why in this one it's not.
Even in some of those shows like the Real World Road Rules Challenge shows and stuff, there's a bunch of them that they've made it a career where they just come back every year.
Yeah.
So, maybe we're going to start to see that with All Stars, where it is going to be like, excuse me, you've talked about with this group of where they have a core group of maybe 12 of them that they kind of pull from every All Stars that they're just going to be back, and then maybe eventually get the crown and rotate them out and bring somebody else in.
No. That's super true. What's funny is at my job, I probably can't. Never mind. I can't say this at all. I just realized this would be a HIPAA violation.
Yeah.
One of the residents is on Road Rule. That's how long it's been on. No, that's not. That's a joke, but that's not what it was. Okay. Let's move on. For this week's Maxi Challenge, the girls must team up in pairs to create a bewitching look for the main stage. They must choose which of them will be the good witch and which will be the bad witch. They must also create a compelling backstory to go along with the look. In the workroom, the girls get acquainted and reacquainted with each other. Later, the girls gather around the table to make their partner wishes known, but in the end, the teams were as follows. Denali and Acid Betty are a team. Daya Betty and Ginger Minj, and then Cynthia Lee Fontaine with Alyssa Hunter. So those are the three teams. Finally, the girls chose fabric and then got to work on their looks and backstories. Did you have any big thoughts on this getting acquainted, maxi challenge rules, anything like that?
No, not really. Everybody was really nice, and everybody was, I think, on their best, on their best behavior. I feel like Acid Betty is coming into this just being sort of remembered as a bitch on her season. So I feel like she's trying particularly hard to be as cordial as possible. And the fact that people wanted to work with her, I think definitely sort of stroked her ego a little bit.
Because she's talented at sewing.
Yeah. Especially when you consider there's only a couple of them when they said who's good at sewing. I feel like everybody got matched with a sewer.
Yeah, they did actually. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
That's this kind of egalitarianism is what's making me think that it's going to be just everyone gets a point.
Yeah,
there's not going to be any trickery. Okay. And actually, that even lends credence to my theory that we don't know how these brackets were filmed. Mm-hmm. Bracket 2 could have been first. Bracket 2 could have been last. Bracket 1 could have been they're all over the place. We don't know. And I think they wisely put the strongest two up front so that by this point, if you're watching, you're hooked. And then you'll go through bracket 3 and then come back for the semifinals. I think we're not going to see a lot of, I don't think, fireworks in this bracket. I think this is going to be the bracket that's, a little sleepy.
Yeah.
And just the obvious people go through. I really do. Oh, I do have, I have no notes here. And I'm going to hear all the notes. Ginger, when she's getting acquainted, it's so funny how there's makeup for drag and makeup for TV, and specifically makeup for the main stage and then makeup in the workroom, because she has this huge stripe across her face from the contouring that I couldn't stop staring at. Yeah, I couldn't stop staring at it. It's so funny. I just defended Ginger being there, but I wrote here, it does seem sort of sad the way they're talking to her, like, oh, you've been on, this is your fourth time. And it feels like a person who graduated from high school and just keeps coming back.
Yes, I thought the same thing. It's very, and that's why there's part of me that almost hopes she takes the whole thing, just so that it is sort of this redemption of that she doesn't have to leave after a fourth time without the crown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that she is my personal pick to win, but she's somebody that I am rooting for in that. You know what? Perseverance pays off eventually, and you get it. So I would like to see. I would be okay with her winning, provided she also doesn't shit the bed in the next 2 episodes. But I think that this could be her full redemption arc, and then she ends up with the crown at the end.
I don't know though, because this is how I feel. Let's see how she does. But I feel that there, unfortunately. Again, I've said this in the past. We need to have an all-star season with this format, but it's just all queens of a certain type. I'll say. I don't want to. Ginger Minj is still insisting she's 40. I don't know. Okay, but of a certain type of old school drag, and they should just compete against each other because this more like I don't want to say avant-garde, but this more like of the moment front of the, I don't know, I can't think of words right now, but the drag modern drag is probably going to take this. I don't know if it's necessarily a young person, but a more modern take on drag.
Well, but I think that's also because it's MTV. So that's kind of against them, that they're not going to have. I mean, when was the last time that an older queen really kind of took it since it's moved to MTV? I mean, the closest.
Jimbo. Where do you put Jimbo here? Or like.
But see, Jimbo to me is very modern because that's clown drag. I mean, I would say the closest to old school drag that we've seen might be Sasha Colby.
Yeah.
But even then, there's other aspects to that which I could see for a reason as to why she won.
But I have bad news for you, Taylor. And I mean, I don't know the demos, but like, how young is MTV's audience still? Are kids still watching MTV?
I would think so from the other programming that they have.
I don't know what other programming they have. I don't know. I pay no attention.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that they're still like bringing back Jersey Shore every once in a while and stuff, and they're all in their 30s and 40s. But I don't know. I don't know.
Anyway, the point I'm making is it's kind of unfair to put her in this group of people who are going to be in the semifinals because they seem to mostly be doing that more modern style of drag. Now that said, going back to Ginger, she is responsible for some very iconic lines in drag racing, like the flooded basement. My basement is flooded, but also probably one that's overlooked is the "You Got Me" gal.
Mm-hmm.
Which is quoted by everybody all the time. And so I feel now she's just saying out of pocket shit because she wants to have another soundbite.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's constantly saying out of pocket shit, and it's just annoying. Like, just talk like a regular person. And then Cuckoo, she's talking to Alyssa Hunter about what they're gonna do. She goes, "We need to make RuPaul laugh." She goes, and I'm all, does she realize that RuPaul doesn't laugh at her because she's funny? RuPaul laughs at her because RuPaul likes to laugh at stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's just all I had there. All right. Now let's move on to these table visits. Next, RuPaul entered the workroom for some table visits, and later there was a video message from Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Back in the workroom, the girls continue to work on their garments and backstories. We learn later that Alyssa Hunter was upset that Daya Betty didn't choose to pair up with her. Meanwhile, Cuckoo didn't give a shit. Finally, the girls wonder aloud how the 4 extra points will work out, and Denali pretty much nails it. The girls then wonder how they will distribute those points. It's runway day, and the girls get ready for the main stage. Denali expresses relief that she and Acid Betty got a lot of their work done, just as Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo enter the workroom for some good old-fashioned faggot tears. Later, Ariana and Cynthia appear behind the workroom mirrors, and finally, the girls complain about the time crunch. Any thought? So little happened. The guys, what I just read made it seem like a lot more happened than it did. Any thoughts on any of these moments, Taylor, that you want to share?
I think having, every time that they brought up the liver cancer, I definitely sort of not flinched, but it, brought back something. And I think that when they asked Cynthia if she was upset about it, and she went, "No, it's fine. I got the person. I had one of two people. I got one of two people. I'm fine." I think that speaks to someone who has gone through some pretty significant medical health issues, and whether or not she got to pick, got to go with her first choice or not, in the general scheme of life, doesn't make that big of a deal to her.
Yeah. So in the table visit with Acid Betty, it shows you how dumb Acid Betty is, and she was only in a handful of episodes in season 8, which, by the way, is a very short season.
Yeah.
And because she says something she should have never fucking said, and doomed her from, even though if it was in the bag for Ginger anyway, she should have never fucking said this. She said to RuPaul, "I need a win. I didn't get a win on my season. I just want a win." And I was like, "Oh, you dumb bitch. You fell into the Jan trap."
Yeah.
You don't tell them that all you want is a win, because they're just not going to give it to you.
Right.
We have a friend, Taylor and I, who he's in therapy, so maybe he's worked through this. I don't know if Taylor even knows this, but do you know, Taylor, let's say they're having like the McRib, right, at McDonald's, and he loves the McRib. It used to be, I don't know if it still is, that when he went to the drive-thru,
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
And he went specifically to order a McRib. I want a McRib. I'm going to go to McDonald's. And they go, "Hi, welcome to McDonald's. You want to try a new McRib today?" Because they asked him, he says no. Like, chooses something else.
Right.
Because they said, he's like, "They're not going to tell me what to eat."
Right.
Which, if I was a therapist, I would just be scribbling furiously, right? Because to me, when that's happened, I go, "Oh my, yes, that's exactly what I came for. Perfect," right? This is like with Drag Race. You say, "Hi, I'm here. I want to win," and they hear, "Well, since now you want it, we're not going to give it to you."
Right. We're going to make you work for it.
We're going to not even work. We're going to watch your dreams crush in front of you. And
I didn't say we're going to give it to you. I just said we're going to make you work for it.
Oh, yes, exactly. And I think that is part of the whole thing. I do think, I don't know how big of a part it played. I think they did want to push Ginger through, but I think even more so with extra oomph, they were like, "And we're not going to give this to you because you said that." And so there you go. All right. Any other thoughts on any of these things that happened, Taylor?
I mean, I think, the Cynthia and Ariana coming in, obviously there's all the screaming and all of that kind of stuff. As I said earlier on the show, I mean, I like the two of them. I always sort of enjoyed any of the interviews that I saw with them when the first Wicked came out, and I know we're going to be probably hit with a bunch of those interviews again in the coming months as the sequel comes out, as part 2 comes out in November. It's just I enjoy them as a entity, when they're together, and they seem to be very wanting to be positive about life and all that. And that's nice to see.
Yeah. I do think it's, I want to see how the press is this year for good. But, they were in the middle of the press for Wicked then. And they were doing that weird thing where they were always all over each other.
Yeah.
And people, it was kind of a backlash. I bet you it'll be a lot more restrained coming up. But it's funny to see that back about they're just like, just like these like wonderful people. And it's just like, not that they're not, but it's just, they were just, I'm all, just kiss already. God, Jesus Christ, you're all over each other. Okay. Well, guys, we're doing something a little unusual because Taylor and I are doing this so that I can go to an event later. So there's no video of the looks. Maybe there will be, but I don't think there will be. And I didn't get to submit them to AI because we never got the looks in time for us to do this episode. Which, by the way, just shout out to J. Thomas Plank, who's been providing me with the videos of the looks, and so this is not in no way trying to criticize J. Thomas Plank. I'm just saying, just the nature of how quickly we're doing this episode speaks to that. And I know he has to rely on when the show is uploaded and whatnot. So this is not a criticism of that. But Taylor, based on what you know about the looks, what can you tell us?
So do you want me to sort of describe from memory what the?
No, we'll do that. I know Taylor's going to hate this, but we'll do that. Not Taylor, Robert. We'll do the detailed stuff on Rulaska thoughts if we get in time. But just just give general thoughts.
My general thoughts were for Ginger and Daya. I can appreciate you mentioned before that it was the same color story for their outfits compared to the opposites for the other ones. And I did not like that. If one is supposed to be good and the other is supposed to be evil, I want a dichotomy in the outfits. I want there to be that where it's blue and red or, black and white or whatever, however you want to say it. So the fact that they both came out in these like purpley, black, iridescent-y, blue kind of thing, I didn't think that necessarily worked, particularly for Ginger's character, who's supposed to be all bubbly. Like, even if you make sort of matching outfits and then just do one in like the lighter colors versus the other one a darker, I think that would have gone a lot further, which is part of the reason I struggled with them having the win for the day. Alyssa and Cynthia, those outfits were horrible. They were horrible. I didn't like them. They looked very crafty to me.
Are you doing an impression of me?
Yes, I am. I'm doing my Joe Betance.
Yeah.
And the story, I had a hard, just because both of their accents are so thick, I had a hard time understanding what they were saying through theirs. And then with the weird in the middle, hey, auntie, where is my bottle of rum? Well, now I had liver cancer. I can't give you that. It was just like that was very jarring. And so when they showed Michelle's face with that, I was like, that's the face that I think everybody else watching this sort of had. Oh, that came out of nowhere. Because that's very, to me, you're creating characters that aren't the two of you. You're creating completely new characters. And that's bringing too much of yourself where it's not, you're not playing a good witch and a bad witch. You're playing Alyssa and Cynthia playing these characters at that point. So I didn't necessarily care for that, but whatever. And then the last two, as we talked about before, I thought that the outfits were great. I thought that they sold the outfits, especially when Acid came out and she did sort of that like, face with with her head back and her eyes like kind of looking down. It sold the character immediately. You knew exactly who she was a fire witch. And I love I'm an iced coffee fan as well. I know they were giving Ariana grief about that, but I like the fact that also kind of, given the stereotype about gays and iced coffee, kind of brings it to a gay sensibility, even more so a gay sensibility than I think the other two stories did. So of the night, those were my two favorite looks. And they even referenced the fact that this is very Schiaparelli, and it's
not to go back onto an 80s thing, but isn't Glenn Scarapelli the guy who played the young boy on One Day at a Time?
One Day at a Time, yeah. That's why yeah. So
I was a kid, I have weird ass gay awakenings. I remember having a crush on him as a little boy.
I had a crush on him too. He is gay. He came out eventually as gay.
What?
Yeah, no, he's a gay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah. All those kids eventually came out as gay. Him and Jonathan from Who's the Boss, and
then Chad Allen too.
Chad Allen, yeah,
from Our House,
Our House, and Dr. Quentin.
Yes, Dr. Quentin, and also just in any 80s sitcom meant for kids, he was the bad, popular kid, the bully. Mean kid. Yeah, he was like the Regina George, in early days, just little faggoty cute boy.
Right. So though it was clear with Danny, what the hell's his name?
Oh, Danny Pintaro. Yeah.
Sorry. When he became a teenager, it was like, there's no hiding that. Like when you're a precocious 8-year-old, you could just sort of act like an 8-year-old. But once he got to be about 12, and
I remember because poor Chad Allen was outed by the National Choir, and he was passing, right? But this Danny Pintaro, right? It was like when he came out, I'm like, I'm gay on People Magazine. I was like,
duh.
Like, to go with the popular internet saying right now, there are forks in my kitchen. Yeah. We know.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry. Any more thoughts on the looks?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right, Taylor. Well, on that note, I love how I was like, I curse myself every single time. We split this recording into two. I'm like, we'll come back. We'll do a 10-minute recording in the end. Because
Right.
Now here we up. Coming up on an hour. Bring back My Girls. All right, later on the main stage, Daya Betty and Ginger Minj were named the top 2 All-Stars of the week, forcing them to face off in a lip-sync battle for the point. The song, Defying Gravity by Idina Menzel and the original cast of Wicked. In the end, Ginger Minj was named the winner of the lip-sync and earned an additional point. Taylor the Latte Boy, any final thoughts on the episode? Anything we missed?
I don't think so.
No, I think we've covered more than I thought we would cover on the show. Plus, a healthy helping of Joe and Taylor reminisce. Reeling in the years. We were reeling in the years. How much, because look, here's the deal. We still have a very young audience, but it skews older. In other words, the 18 to 24s have sort of, we don't get them anymore like we used to. They've aged.
Well, after conversations like we had, it makes sense that they went someplace else. Yeah,
but it's still, I will say, still our biggest audience is 24 to 35.
Okay.
Okay. But I hope that they like this. I don't know.
I know that for some, it sounds like, why are these 2 old faggots talking about 80 sitcoms and that sort of thing? It's because this is something that we grew up on, just like a lot of kids who started watching Drag Race young and are getting older. They kind of reminisce about the earlier seasons. We're doing the same things, but we're talking about shows from our youth. And
well, what's funny is if you went back and watched them. Oh, I never finished my MASH thing either. Just to put a button on the MASH thing. What I was going to say is I've seen the movie MASH 2 times.
Okay, I've seen it once.
Okay. I saw it once when I was probably in my 20s when I was like, I'm going to watch everything on the AFI 100 list. And I was just like dreading watching it, but I don't remember what my thoughts were, but they weren't memorable. Mm-hmm. And then just very recently, it was on Criterion Collection. And, I have a hatred for the TV show, like I said. I'm like, I'll watch this. It is an incredible film. The film is incredible.
I'm going to say something that might offend you.
No, I'll be offended.
A little bit. As you as a lover of film, I can't stand Robert Altman movies.
Well, he has that way of writing script where they talk over each other.
They talk over each other and they do weird things with the camera angles. And so that, to me, when I see it, I was like, oh yeah, this is super Robert Altman.
You know
this
what's
is like
really
in his height.
And I would love to know, maybe someone who knew him, or I wonder if he ever talked about it. But there's a whole storyline that was deleted from the film and I think this is what colored my second viewing of the film. But there was a whole minor, like I would even say C-plot storyline that was deleted for some reason. And but the remnants still remain, right? It's towards the end. So everyone should know I could see why they said this would be a good TV show is the film MASH is very episodic. So like it's not one storyline. It's literally like watching like 3 or 4 episodes of the TV show. Not wacky like the TV show MASH. But it's like 3 or 4 episodes of a fictitious dramatic, like a dramedy. And I think it's in the last one where throughout the movie you see that they have like this I can't remember his name, like Hojin or something, like this little Asian boy who is like their helper. And I think this still is in the movie where they take Hojin or something like that, or he goes back to his family, or it's kind of mentioned or something. But this storyline was removed where it's towards the end and they're performing surgery on somebody else. Oh, no, they're performing surgery and they lose the patient and they're kind of upset. What you don't know is it's Hojin. Like when he left, his car was bombed or something like that, and they're trying to save him. And then right after that, you see they're quietly just playing cards as his body's being wheeled out. And they remove Saint. I don't know why. And once you know that, it adds a layer to this scene that you're like, oh, this is one where they were trying to save an actual life and not being wacky. Anyway, the film's incredible. The TV show I can't stand. And actually I found out Robert Altman hated the TV show.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So, where were we?
We were saying goodbye.
But what were we talking about before MASH? Oh, talking about old TV shows.
We're talking about old TV shows and why we went on for a half an hour in the...
But the other thing I was going to say is, and I've talked about this with movies, is there was a time, because now there's so much fucking content for children, and it has been for a while. Mm-hmm. But when you and I were growing up, Saturday mornings were the only content for children.
Right.
And everything else was like, fuck you, you're going to watch what your parents watch. Or when you stayed home from school, you're going to watch what's on TV. Like, there was no content for children. There was no Nickelodeon. Right. Well, Nickelodeon was in very early stages, and all they did was show you can't do that on television 24 hours a day.
No, it was a lot of young programming. And then in the afternoons, that because you can't do that on television, came on at like 4 o'clock here.
Yeah.
And it was on for an hour, and then and then they almost started, like Nick at Night started after that.
Yeah. But the point, it didn't really exist. So you watched, the only reason I watched shows from Alice is when you stayed home from school or summertime, that's what was on TV at 10 a.m., you know? And so you just know these shows at the back of your hand because they showed MASH and Alice and all these dumb sitcoms.
It's a living. Facts of Life.
But Facts of Life was kind of geared towards, there was like this weird like tween thing, like so Facts of Life and Silver Spoons and
Different Strokes.
It's Your Move, or whatever.
It's Your Move. A show that was on for like one season.
With Jason Bateman.
Yeah, it was Jason Bateman, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Remember Jason Bateman was on Silver Spoons and they got rid of him because he got too popular?
Oh, I didn't know that's why they got rid of him.
Yeah.
But,
he was starting to overshadow Ricky Schroeder.
Well, wasn't he like the bully?
Yeah, but he was like super funny.
Okay. Well, and look at today now. Now he's a major mogul.
And Ricky Schroeder is like a truther or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say a crazy Fox News consultant.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join, and also the 80s. Be sure to join us next weekend every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 10. So, for Ted the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
Your child has so much potential, but your local schools may not be right for them. Check out K-12. K-12-powered schools are accredited tuition-free online public schools for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. This is not your typical homeschooling. With state-certified teachers specially trained to teach online, your child will learn at their speed, at home, with innovative, engaging technology. Join the more than 3 million families who have chosen K-12. Go to k12.com/podcast today to learn more. That's k12.com/podcast.